Welcome to the lighter side of the dark side. It's your weekly freak show here on Renegade Radio and all podcast catchers, also YouTube, iHeartRadio. You know the deal. It's the Dark Mark Show. I am Dark Mark, the goth comedian, and as always, everybody's favorite horror writer, Nicole Sachs.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, and I think your Wi-Fi is haunted, Nicole, because it's as we're recording, as you kind of come in and out, but we'll get it together.
I don't have Wi-Fi. I have direct data.
Okay, well, the direct data might be haunted, but Nicole, you see what I'm drinking today. I got my teacup, got my green tea. You know what that means?
I mean, we have a tea leaf reader with us.
Yeah, so that means if I'm not drinking Ray's energy drink, which is the best energy drink you can get, and please, if you like energy drinks, buy it in the description. But if I'm drinking tea, that means we got our friend on the show. I mean, I think she came on last November and gave me a tea leaf reading, and then since she's been on 3 other times. This is the 4th time she's been on. We love her. I'd have her on every week if I could, but she's busy time. She does tea readings, she does smoke readings. This is her busy time of the year, and she's here to give us a history of Halloween like you've never heard before, unless you went on one of her ghost tours. It's Rissa Miller.
Thank you so much, Mark, for that incredibly flattering introduction. And I also have green tea.
Yes, so. That's your favorite, I know, but yep. That's why I drink that.
But it's not in a cute teacup today. I've got a proper sized mug.
No, see, that's a big one. Yeah, you must be kind of tired today, and you got to get that extra because you've been busy.
I've been super busy. Yeah, I've been doing ghost tours and talking at festivals and talking at museums, and I think I have 20 straight days with presentations.
Yeah, so but I saw some of your schedule, and you just got back from Portland, so there's a little time zone different.
I did. Yeah, the jet lag didn't help because I had to jump right back in.
Right. And you were at a tarot conference in Portland, if I recall correctly.
I was speaking at the Northwest Tarot Symposium about the history of tarot cards.
How did they find you for that?
A friend recommended me. So it was just fortuitous. Almost everything for me happens by recommendation. I always, when I put out my requests, I always ask for opportunities. And that is, I'm quite sure, how they always come.
Is that what I should start doing? Because Nicole was telling me about some sort of prosperity thing, and now she's rolling in dough.
That's excellent. Congratulations, Nicole.
Thank you.
So yes. Yeah, when I think about the prosperity or success that I want to come to me, it's never just about me. There has to be a link in between, right? So, I mean, unless I somehow manifest the winning lottery numbers and have the, wherewithal to go get the ticket, which almost never happens. But that said, there has to be those people in between, the references or the folks who give you the opportunity. And that's always what I ask for and look for. The people in between who open the door.
That's networking. And you're a great networker. And, like I said, there's nobody quite like you. And I can only imagine that they went crazy in Portland for you. You brought the East Coast energy to Portland. Oregon.
I did.
Instead of Maine this time.
It was a fantastic tarot symposium. I have to say, there were people there from all over the world. There were lots of different perspectives on tarot and divination in general. And it just meeting and talking to people was as fantastic as the really well curated classes they had as well. So it was a fantastic few days, and it flew by. I barely got to see Portland at all. But it was wonderful. If either of you ever feel like learning everything about tarot, I can't recommend it enough.
Maybe we'll go next year. And apparently the garlic knots are delicious.
That's right.
Yes. So.
I got to go eat out. I got to eat one time outside of the hotel, and it was at a place called Sizzle Pie. And I'm vegan, and Portland has vegan everything you can imagine. And I mostly experienced it through DoorDash, which is not the best way. but I'm still grateful, of course. But DoorDash,
the magic of DoorDash.
Yeah, the magic of DoorDash brought me a lot of lukewarm food. But the sizzle pie experience was so good. The vegan pizza and the vegan ranch sauce, and oh my god, the garlic knots were so amazing. I could have just eaten them forever.
Right. No,
I've
I
been
love
vegan now for about a year. This is about the time last year I went vegan. Yeah.
Congratulations. It's your vegan anniversary.
Yeah,
When did we have you on? November?
You had me on in November and December, and then again.
Yeah, I think
spring.
I think this is about exactly that time.
I said because of Rissa, you became vegan and you were inspired.
Because of Rissa, I went vegan.
Yes, you're inspired.
She definitely helped at the end. It took me a while to quit cheese, but I finally quit cheese like a couple of months ago. So I was still eating vegan, but every once in a while I'd cheat and have cheese. And so now there's no more cheating.
Oh, well, good for you. Congratulations, Nicole.
Thank you. I've really enjoyed your magazine. I was sorry that you had to step away from that because I thought it was really wonderful.
Thank you so much. Well, their new editor is also fantastic. So I expect great things from her.
And you were there for a long time. So
I was there for a long time. And it was the moment for me to move on to other ventures.
Yes. So, but cheese is always, for every vegan I know, that's always the last to go. That's like always the one thing that they just can't.
It is for most people. And the reality is that there are two factors. The first is that dairy is chemically addicting. And the other is that there's nothing in the vegan world yet that's quite as gooey. Although I have to say the vegan cheeses now, they're way better than when I started. Like, 28 years ago, the vegan cheese tastes like pencil erasers. It was just not even worth eating. It was awful. So it didn't melt. It didn't smell good. It didn't taste good. It was even like a gray color. It was just not worth it at all. So when Daya first came out, and a lot of people don't like Daya now because there are better things, but when Daya first came out, there was nothing as good. There was nothing quite like it. And now there's even Trader Joe's has a house brand of vegan cheese that's pretty solid and affordable. Yeah. So, it's come a long way. Food science. Love it.
Oh, yeah. Like I say, I want Rissa on every week. We at some point we'll do a whole another vegan show, just nothing but vegan. And because, like I say, the struggle was real. You were vegan in the 90s, and man, that was rough.
It was, yeah. People have joked around and told me, but I think it's actually a great idea that I should write a book about what it was like being vegan in the 90s. People didn't even know the word. People would say, "Oh, does that mean you're from Las Vegas?" It's like, no. Where did you get that? No. Or I think
it's really great that so many mainstream places are now starting to embrace plant-based food.
Yes.
There's still an issue with the fact that sometimes there's cross-contamination, but for the most part, I think their heart's in the right place and they're willing to try to change and provide better options. And that's really great that we've evolved that way.
Absolutely. And also I think that a lot of the vegan options have become more affordable with places like Burger King and Taco Bell offering vegan options. I mean, they're not health food, but they are there and they are affordable and they're available everywhere. And I think that is a big step forward for people who, want convenient food or are on a budget. Right. It's like not everybody has time to sit around and, cook beans from scratch. That's just not real life.
And Nicole, have you had any pushback being vegan?
Not really. But I'm also not super aggro about it. Usually I just say something about not being thankful I don't harm animals or showing something that's vegan that's tasty. So every once in a while there's someone that says something about bacon, but that's not it.
This seems to never go away.
Well, this is where I was going to, and I didn't mean to interrupt Rissa because I know she was about to say something. But when you were vegan, when you started becoming vegan 28 years ago, I know you got pushback.
I got nothing but pushback, and honestly, there were people who were legitimately concerned that I was making a dangerous choice and it was risky. And I was just like, well, here we go. Let's find out. But you two have already figured this out about me that I will just do things and work it out. I'm not super afraid to try things.
When you said the people that are genuinely worried about you, I do have people that said, "Oh, I was vegan, but blah blah blah, my health." And I haven't had any health problems at all. It's been about a year. I'm on vitamins. I take a multivitamin every day, and perfectly healthy. I'm getting protein. I get lots of protein.
Yeah.
And I have little muscles coming in now. Like I've been lifting weights, and like I don't see the big deal. But that's the main thing. I have a few friends that I think just feel guilty they're not still vegan, that comment on the fact that I should be careful about my health because being vegan didn't work out for them because of the health issues. But I think it could work out if you took the proper steps. Yeah.
So I actually have serious chronic health issues that a medical doctor predicted I wouldn't live past 30. And here I am. I'm actually in amazing health. I can easily walk 6 or 7 miles a day. I would say that being vegan saved my life. And, in the beginning, I did make all my food from scratch, even bread. Everything was like super clean eating. And I still would prefer to do that. But like I said, that's not real life every day. So I think that a well-planned vegan diet can support just about anybody. Now, I know there are certain people with, multiple food allergies and things like that. Okay, I get it. Those are situations that you have to be able to work around. But overall, I mean, even Olympic athletes and NFL players can be successful on a vegan diet. So
absolutely.
Yeah,
that's working to mainstream it, because there's a lot of like bulky athletes that are like, I'm vegan. I think Schwarzenegger's vegan now, and there's like,
yes, he did say that publicly. I mean, I don't know if he stuck to it, but he did say that.
And so and my mother's vegan, and a lot of my friends are vegan, and my father, I think, is he's you coined the term the first time you were on it. I think it was like vegan in training, or future vegan.
Oh, pre-vegan. Yeah.
Pre-vegan. He's pre-vegan. He's trying, but it's not 100% yet, but he's working towards it. So he's cutting down on his meat and still getting protein, and still it seems to be doing well with that. So,
well, good on him. I hope that it works out for him.
And I'm sure I will be soon. I haven't quite gotten there yet, but what we were just saying, I was telling Nicole today, because I sent her the picture that I'm going to be using for the promo. I found another beautiful picture of you, and I also added you on Facebook. So I actually went back and looked at some pictures of you 10 years ago, and you were lovely then, and you get more and more beautiful as you go along. Now, are you a vampire? Is there something going on here? I don't know what's going on.
I'm certainly not a vampire. This is going to sound like a funny thing. In the past few years, I have made peace with having my picture made and being on video. And for a long time, I'm a natural introvert, believe it or not. And I had to unlearn a lot of my own awkward tendencies when somebody pointed a camera at me. And I've become much more like, if you're really comfortable in front of a camera, your pictures just look better. And I mean, I have training as a photographer, so I knew this intrinsically, but I couldn't live it until I was ready to, if that makes sense. But now I'm actually quite comfortable in front of a still or a video camera, and I feel like my pictures reflect that level of confidence that it took me a minute to acquire.
Right. Your angles, just like Nicole. Nicole's got that. Trying to get that angle here, because it's like reverse. So it's like, here we go. That's the.
Well, people tend to like the side of their face that is opposite their dominant hand. And they taught me this in photography school. It's not my own concept. People just generally tend to like the opposite side of their face.
Jeez, I'm trying to think.
You're both thinking. You're both like,
because my dominant hand's my left hand, but I usually take a picture with my left hand, so I don't know. But then again, I don't know what I'm doing, and you're a professional photographer. But and also, as I mentioned last time, and we're gonna get to what we're talking about, which is the history of Halloween and Samhain. But if I could flirt with you for just one more moment, but the gray hair just looks so sexy on you. And to see you with darker hair, I'm like, still beautiful, but I don't know. There's something about.
I look different.
You did.
Yeah, I did.
So, anyway, so that's
a lot of people will say, I wish I had the looks I had when I was a teenager or when I was 20, and I look back at what I look like when I was a teenager or when I was in my 20s, and I was like, there are many ways that I didn't have to work as hard to, be fit or things like that or I only needed 4 hours of sleep and I could be totally productive. That's not part of my life anymore.
Right.
But I actually am happier with how I look now. I feel better about myself, and I feel like the life I have lived has become much more my own as I've embraced all of these other parts of myself unapologetically.
Right.
And it's I think that's part of what you see now.
Okay, that makes sense. And I'm going through a similar journey myself. Trust me. By troubles here. So, Nicole, you got to say something so that.
Oh, yeah. Trouble just climbed on my lap, so I'm showing him so you can say hello.
Hi, good boy.
Yes.
He is a good boy. He's a very good boy.
And so cute.
Now, are you going to dress Trouble up for Halloween?
I have been asked this multiple times. I never put him in costumes. Maybe he's a little fluffy. Like he's a little chubby anyway, not like fat, but like he's a little chubby and then he's got like a lot of fluff. So I'm not really sure if they make them in his size, but they probably do, right?
Oh, I'll bet they do.
I'm sure you could find like bat wings that are adjustable or something.
My friend Louise suggested a bow tie. I could do a bow tie.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
That's perfect.
All right,
That's perfect.
I don't know. It could be constrictive with his big neck because you feed him so much, but I don't know.
I do not feed him so much.
I'm sure they make a large enough bow tie. I mean, I had a huge dog, and I had bow ties for him.
To be fair, I give Trouble breakfast, and then he has his kibble throughout the day, and that's it. Like I don't really overfeed him. He just
I'm not inferring. It's good. I'm glad he's being pampered.
That's what I was going to say. He spent 2 years not having enough to eat, and so I want to make sure that when he's hungry, he can go eat. So, but he doesn't really. He hasn't gained. He like plumped up and then just stayed the same weight. He's been the same weight for like over a year now.
Okay, that's no judgment.
Do you have any pets, Rissa?
Not right now. Not right now. No. Although I've been feeding a stray cat, and he's all white with blue eyes and a ringtail. And I looked it up. It's called a ghost tabby. The coloring is called a ghost tabby.
That's wonderful.
Yeah, he comes every day. If I'm not out there by like 6:30 a.m., he sits there and meows until I come feed him. So I guess he's getting a little bit tame.
Okay.
You're domesticating him, yeah.
Yeah, not intentionally. I mean, he still won't walk up to me. Like if I open the door to put the food bowl out, he runs. But then he sort of circles and comes back and eats the food. But yeah, I call him Ghost Cat.
No wonder the Ghost Cat is drawn to you, and that creates the segue. Finally, after 20 minutes, we're going to talk about what we're going to talk about because we had such a great time with you on the Christmas show. You telling creepy Christmas tales that a lot of us we'd never heard before. I figured you had so many the history of Halloween, according to Rissa Miller. I'm sure you know a lot of things that a lot of people don't.
Maybe. Well, I guess we'll find out.
Yes. And so I guess, we were talking where we start, and I guess we start with Samhain.
Yeah, that's the perfect spot.
Which a lot of people mispronounce.
Yes, Samhain is not the word.
Right.
Samhain. It's a Gaelic word, and it's a tricky language. I know that when I encounter Gaelic words, I usually try to find someone recorded on YouTube or something that actually pronounces them before I attempt to say them publicly anywhere. But yes, Samhain was a harvest celebration, and it falls still exactly between the autumn equinox and the winter solstice. So it is basically the beginning of true winter, of the true dark time of the year. Now, it's true.
Our favorite time of the year.
My favorite time of the year, for sure.
I think that makes the three of us. And Trouble, too, so that's 4.
So, this particular celebration, it wasn't originally anything like what we think of as Halloween. It was a true harvest celebration, but it was also an ancestor celebration. And I think America might be one of the only countries without a true ancestor veneration holiday. as I was researching this, I was kind of like, it's interesting that we're the only people that are like, the people that came before us, meh. But
And they're
most
phasing out Columbus Day and President's Day.
Mhm.
So,
well, I think it's good to bring in Indigenous Peoples Day
sure.
and to embrace the people who had this land before colonists arrived.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm thinking more like in Mexico, those Dia de los Muertos,
Mm-hmm.
and at that time, which is around Halloween, the thin time of the year, they literally all go out and talk to their ancestors and open their homes again to those in their family who are dead and who are passed over.
Mm-hmm.
And this is a big part of the old Samhain custom. It's something that didn't carry over into Halloween. Right. And, moving backwards through time, when the Celts would have celebrated Samhain, the idea that the dead could return was a huge part of it, especially their family members. It's sort of the origin of the custom of the dumb supper, which isn't dumb like stupid, it's dumb like mute. So it was a silent meal that would happen around the 31st or November 1, and you would set plates for your ancestors to join you. And definitely leave food. Soul cakes came from here as well. Now, soul cakes have other uses too. This is also one of the many branches of the trick or treat origin. So soul cakes. I really wanted to have time today to make some to like show, but it didn't work out. That didn't happen. But I have a vegan recipe though I can send you. But
please.
Yeah, I will. And you can feel free to try it out or share it, whatever you like.
Dumb supper. Well, that for us, that's when people have meat with their supper. So that'll be dumb supper.
But no, it was the idea that you had this opportunity to, again, sit with your ancestors for one night, because at Samhain, the veil was thin. Mm-hmm. And during that time, your ancestors could return and you could share a meal with them silently. And then typically the adults would afterwards update them on the year that's passed, who's gotten married or how the year farming went, or, whatever has happened since they last spoke. And the tradition with Samhain was that on that night of Samhain, the ancestors could reply. And they could both hear you and they could reply. Mm-hmm. So it's sort of become a natural time of year for divination, with it being such a thin time of year between the two worlds. So that is part of our customs still. Most people who want a tarot reading or anything like that, they think, I should do that in October. It's a carryover from that time. It's not necessarily true that divination. It's not necessarily true that divination only works at Halloween. But if you are looking for somebody specific to reach through from the other side, and it could certainly be easier during the thin time of year between the autumn equinox and Yule. So that's just one of the many, many aspects of this entire holiday. But with the dead coming back, it's not just your ancestors that are going to show up. It's everybody. Mm-hmm. And not everybody is, who you want around. So other customs came up to sort of safeguard the home from these wandering spirits that would return. One thing that was done was the hearth was left to burn all night until it burned out. Now, for me personally, it's a little hard to do that. Like, I have an electric fireplace now. It's not the same. I just turn it off. But the whole idea was that you would load in enough wood to get through the night of Samhain into the daylight. Mm-hmm. And, I don't know if you remember, but that custom was also common at Yule as well. Right. So that dark spirits wouldn't enter through the fireplace. Right. Same idea. It's like literally the exact same thing. But this was very specifically ghosts, not necessarily Christmas vampires or whatever other, thing might be out there. There were definitely spirits, very particular spirits associated with Samhain too. And since everybody knows jack-o'-lanterns, let's go with that.
Yeah.
I was able to go out and grab a tiny pumpkin. Oh, guy. I did not get to carve it, but
is that from your garden or?
No, I don't grow pumpkins. They take too much water, and it's cheaper to buy them than it is to water them.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So this little guy's about the size of a turnip. And let's start with turnips. So the first jack-o'-lanterns were carved out of turnips. Pumpkins were not thought of until America. And in Ireland, they made little lanterns out of turnips. So the beginning of jack-o'-lanterns was part of a tradition called souling. And S-O-U-L. Yeah, S-O-U-L, souling. And that is when Christians started to lay their influence into Samhain. And
they always do that, those Christians. They always take these pagan holidays.
They do, and they sort of convert them. So souling was part of All Souls Day. And they just sort of like folded it into their religion, right? And the idea was that children who, were unfortunate or didn't have as much could go out on the night of Samhain and collect soul cakes. And especially happy, to get something sweet on Samhain night. And to light their way, they would use these turnip lanterns. And then over time, the turnip lanterns started to have faces to sort of scare away the evil souls that were out there. And then as time goes by, there comes a new story, the story of Stingy Jack. Do either of you already know Stingy Jack?
I don't know. I know a guy named Jack. He's pretty cheap, but I don't know Stingy Jack personally. Nicole, do you know Stingy Jack?
No, this is new to me.
Okay.
Let's hear about Stingy Jack.
So this is an Irish story, and there's a guy named Jack, and he's incredibly selfish. He's not a good guy. He's a bit of a drunk. He attracts the attention of the devil, in fact, of the devil himself. Right. So the story, there are many variations on this story, but the gist of it is that he's out on Samhain night and All Hallows Eve, if you will. And the devil walks up to him on the street. This is not a costume. This is the actual devil. Right. And he says, I've come to take you to hell. You're a terrible human being. And Jack's also a bit of a con artist. And he cons the devil. He said, okay, I'll come with you. And you're right. I deserve it. Let's go get one drink first. Just one.
Sounds like my friend Jack.
Does it?
A little bit, yeah.
Does Jack listen to this show?
I'm gonna tell him. I'm gonna tell him about his show, and he's got a son, Jack Jr. He's a lawyer, so So anyway,
so Stingy Jack convinces the devil to go into a tavern, and several drinks later, Stingy Jack looks at the devil and says, "Oh, I don't have any money. You're gonna have to pay." And Stingy Jack, right? And so the devil turns himself into a coin, and instead of using it to pay the barkeep, Stingy Jack puts it in his pocket where he has a sterling silver cross, rendering the devil powerless over him. So the story goes next that he gets Jack can still hear the devil telepathically, I guess. And he's like, all right, this isn't going to work out. You have to let me go. And Jack's like, all right, well, let's make another deal. He's like, I just need one more year, and I'm gonna set things right. I'm gonna be a good guy, and if you give me one more year, I'll be happy. And the devil's like, all right, just let me out of your pocket. All right, fine, we'll do a year. Right. So literally 1 year later, on All Hallows Eve, the devil comes back, and you would think he had learned that Jack's a terrible person, but he didn't. And Jack's like, great. He's like, I'm ready to go. I just want to finish eating this apple. The devil's like, geez, all right, okay, finish your apple. Well, then he climbs up into the apple tree, and the devil goes to sit with them. And Jack has already planted silver crosses all over the apple tree, trapping the devil again. And this time, Jack says, look, what I want to ask for is that you never take me to hell. And the devil's like, fine, man, I don't even want you there. Like, just let me go.
He's too hardcore for the devil.
Yeah, I think he's too annoying. Yeah. So Stingy Jack lives out his life, and he dies. The story is that he dies from being a drunk, and he tries to go to heaven, and they're like, "Oh no, we're not going to take you here. You go back to the devil." The devil's like, "Oh no, I'm keeping my promise to you, and you cannot come in. You're going to have to wander the earth as a spirit forever." And he goes, and here's what you get. And he gives him a turnip lantern like the children carry. And he becomes Jack of the Lantern. And there is where the jack-o'-lantern name came from.
I had no idea. Now we know. That's where jack-o'-lantern came from.
Yeah, that's where the jack-o'-lantern story came from. Now, when the colonists came to America, they brought their jack-o'-lanterns tradition with them. And pumpkins were easier to grow here. Or, I don't know, maybe the natives already had them. We'll never know exactly why. But they started carving them from pumpkins. And they were able to make bigger faces. And they were just better. They're also way easier, I'm sure, to carve than a turnip. I don't know if either of you
I was trying to think how you can,
they are not. They're like really fibrous and I would not want. I've never tried to carve a turnip.
This isn't a turnip, but it's about the size of it. Yeah, it's just like a little. Yeah, I can only imagine.
Oh yeah, like these are way softer, and honestly, they're way prettier. I mean, some turnips are purple, and that's kind of cool, but this was a step up. Way to go, whoever came up with the idea.
Although this year I'm going to grab a turnip and see what I can do with that and put it outside. And by the way, I had no idea that the devil was so easy to con.
Manipulate? Yeah, I didn't either.
Like he's inside the guy's pocket going, can you get me out, please? I'm the devil. I can't. It doesn't.
Yeah, you would honestly think he had a bit more power, but that's it's folklore. It's a story.
Right.
So that is the story of the jack-o'-lantern and why we still have them, and the long transition from just being for souling all the way up until they become our jack-o'-lanterns now.
Okay, so next time you see a jack-o'-lantern, you think of Stingy Jack.
That's exactly right. You think of Stingy Jack wandering Ireland forever, unable to rest.
And he's still wandering as far as we know.
As far as we know, it's been a couple hundred years now. The guy must be tired.
Saying it really sucked to be like stuck wandering like the earth for all time.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Knowing Stingy Jack, I think he's been under bar stool for the last 70 years, so it doesn't seem like he's wandering that much.
Yeah, you're probably right. The spirit of Stingy Jack is probably sitting in a tavern in Dublin right now.
Right, and then when the tavern closes, he probably sleeps at a bus stop and then goes back to the tavern or something like that. Trust me. There's quite a few Stingy Jacks around LA. I don't know if there are in Baltimore, but there's a few of them.
Yeah, we've got our share as well.
And speaking
I'm someone knocked on my door.
Okay. I think that's Stingy Jack. He's come to he's come
for a drink.
Yeah, he wants a drink. You poured your drink, and then Stingy Jack came to your door with a turnip. So.
With the turnip, exactly.
Yeah. Well, Nicole's dealing with what's going on at her door. Let me just say, real quick, as I always do, I was trying to get a better transition into this, but I couldn't quite really. We're being sponsored by Tactical Soap. If it's pheromone infused soap, they have 3 different types: Bond, Maverick, and Durden. We have a predominantly male audience. If you want to attract the ladies, first off, taking a bath and using soap and water, always a good first step. Second of all, use Tactical Soap. Great scents. Bond, Maverick, Durden, they have 3 different types. And smell your best. Rissa and Nicole will tell you, nothing sexier than a great smelling man. So use our code in the description, Tactical Soap. And you're nodding, Rissa. I'm sure you've had good-looking men approach you, and you're like, ooh, and then you smell them, and they're like, no. Or the other way around, where somebody like smells really good, and you're like, ooh, okay.
Well, I have had good-looking men approach me that don't use deodorant or soap, and they smell like an old gym shoe, and they're like, "This is my lifestyle." I'm like, "Good. I'm glad that's working for you, because it doesn't work for me at all."
Right. Or knowing the circles that you are in, probably a lot of guys with patchouli, which a patchouli.
Yeah, that's also not my favorite. I mean, it's a beautiful plant, and I love to grow it, but
I'm sure.
Yeah.
But let's be honest, it smells like ass, and Tactical Soap does not. So get your Tactical Soap. So
I have a funny story. I have a friend who's an entertainment writer, and she met Will Smith, the actor.
Okay.
And I was like, "What was your first impression?" She said he smelled so good.
You're not the first person to tell me that. I've heard people say that he does smell very good.
Yeah, I was just like, you weren't like overwhelmed with his, good looks or his great physique or how articulate he is, his charm. No, he smelled good. First thing, he smelled good.
Right.
I think smelling good is important. I use perfume almost every time I go out. I want to have that the little extra. And I heard that some guys, they have a trick that they were taught where they put a little bit of perfume on their hands, so they hold hands with the girl. She has a little smell of them later.
I've never heard that, but it's a good trick.
Now you
Yeah.
tell me. Now you tell me. I've known you for 10 years, and you just told me that now, and our whole audience. But and by the way, your friend who met Will Smith, it's nice that she didn't get slapped, so that was always good too. So
No, she did not.
did not get slapped, and yeah. So anyway, good way to work Will Smith in the conversation. Is
no, it's nothing to do with Halloween, but it was to
no,
do with
but everybody's talking about Will Smith now, so I will hashtag Will Smith on this episode, and we'll see how that goes. I mean, how did Samhain become Halloween?
Okay, we can do that next.
Okay.
So there are so many aspects of how Samhain became Halloween. Let's start with the Victorians because they're fun.
We love Victorians.
The Victorians gave us access to our scary monsters. Let's put it that way. The Victorians, like Bram Stoker, gave us our vampire. There were vampires for 3,000 years in history before Dracula, but Dracula was the first charming vampire. Bram made our vampires sexy. He made them desirable. Mary Shelley gave us Frankenstein, our monster of science, a monster that taught us that if we progress too fast, we won't know what to do with the power. So all of these monsters come into the Victorian era. Oh, and of course, don't forget, Washington Irving brings us the Headless Horseman, which is not a new story. It wasn't his own story. The story was actually an old Irish folk tale. But and the Irish story is way scarier, to be totally honest. I mean, the Headless Horseman's a fine story, but the Irish version is the Headless Horseman rolls up in a carriage made of bones and skulls. So it's pretty cool, actually.
Sounds like it.
Yeah, but he sort of he brought it to America, and he made it our Halloween story because it's set at Halloween, right? And he gave it this breath of truth because there were so many people in it that were real people that lived in Sleepy Hollow, New York. So we have these new stories.
Nothing more American than plagiarism.
Yeah, well, yes, there's that too.
Right.
But so we have this time period where now suddenly it's okay to talk about ghosts because of the spiritualists during the Victorian era. And it's accepted to, embrace things that are otherworldly for the first time in hundreds and hundreds of years. So we are excited as a culture. We can't wait to embrace our spooky side because let's be real, it was always there. At no point in human history have humans ever been all light and love. It's just not how we're cut. And to finally be able to look into our own shadows and embrace a spooky season with monsters, fresh, new, exciting monsters that are at least new to most people. You have like the area of the Penny Dreadfuls, not the HBO show, but the actual books. Like all of these things are happening in the Victorian era, and this is the beginning of Halloween as we know it now. Now, it won't settle into what we think of as Halloween exactly until like the 1940s because candy wasn't a part of it right away. Sugar was too expensive. And then during the World War in the 1940s, sugar was completely not accessible. But the sweets come in after the war and when sugar is industrialized. And then suddenly Halloween as we know it is really kind of just rolling because the Victorians brought us the scary stuff and the monsters and the all black wearing and the embracing of the Victorian death culture. And they gave us all this fantastic openness to the dark side of humanity. And then industrialization made Halloween commercial.
And so people weren't baking soul cakes anymore. They were just giving out regular candy.
It was much easier to give out candy. Yes, actually. Right. I mean, I'm sure there were still traditionalists, and there still are people who make soul cakes. I don't make them every year. It depends how many ghost tours I've given right beforehand, if I'm like ridiculously tired. Right. But I do try to make them, and I've taught many people to do it because I feel like it's one of those traditions worth it's a valuable tradition. And I do actually take them to the ancestors that I know where they are and leave them for them.
Oh, that's
I don't
nice.
really want to get to know my ancestors. My family's a lot of mental illness in my family and a lot of addiction. It was a pretty dark time. I do pretty well for myself considering where I came from, but I can only imagine what it was like because I don't talk about this often, but my grandmother was actually like hospitalized back when they still did electroshock therapy. So I can only imagine what like 100 years ago was like for my family.
Yeah, that
And
is a very
half of
dark
my
time.
family is Sicilian, and they come from priests, so it's like it's just darkness. Like my ancestry, I probably have so many ancestral curses.
But you also have an awareness of it, and you can choose a different path.
Definitely, and I work very hard not to be like my family for sure.
Yeah.
Do you have
Yeah.
good memories of your relatives? Like, do you have like a peaceful coexistence with yours?
I do. I mean, we have normal family conflicts, but nothing super bad. I mean, when I think of my memories of Halloween, I remember, sitting by the fireplace and Dad telling us ghost stories, and Mom always made minestrone soup after trick or treating, and I have these kind of
So
wholesome
you wanted to
sounding.
eat all the candy, and she's like, "Wait a second, you eat your soup first."
Actually, I loved the soup. I couldn't wait for the soup. And
Okay.
it probably started my ghost storytelling tradition because as I got older, I wanted to tell ghost stories to everybody else for Halloween. And
Yeah.
it's something that people actually seem to really like. Like I would be surrounded by a circle of friends every year who wanted to hear ghost stories at Halloween. And I would either tell local stories or I would, read the Legend of Sleepy Hollow aloud or something like that.
What's a local story that you would tell?
Well, I do love the urban legends because they're way scarier than real ghost stories. Like real ghost stories have this like tinge of sadness.
Right.
Because a real person lived their life and died. But the urban legends, they just give and give and give, right? So where I grew up in Pennsylvania, there was a story called Mary Black. And this is an urban legend. Now, Mary Black was a real woman. She lived from the early 1800s. She immigrated from Ireland and she married here and in the United States and lived to, I believe, into her 80s. She died in 1888. So she lived a totally normal life. The urban legend picks up when she dies. So when she dies, people start what we would call legend tripping to her grave. And the legend is that if you go to her grave and say her name at midnight 3 times, potentially she'll grant you a wish. But maybe not. Now, if you're going to get the wish, you'll see her familiar, her black cat, cross your path in the next 24 hours. But if you don't, then something's going to arrive that scrapes your face off in the next 24 hours because she's deemed you not worthy. So Mary Black's grave got to be a high traffic area. And it's actually out towards Pittsburgh in a place called Tyndall Cemetery. Then in the 1980s, people decided they wanted to exhume Mary Black so that they could, absorb her magical power. The police, of course, intervened. And now her headstone and her body have to be kept at the Historical Society Museum in the area because people simply can't be trusted. So
wow,
it is the variation of the, Bloody Mary or Beetlejuice or, whatever you like, the Bell Witch, chant in the mirror 3 times. And I've heard the Mary Black story told, that you have to do it by candlelight or that you have to take a mirror with you or whatever. But it's fun to, get people to look in a mirror and say a name 3 times because it always scares them and nothing ever happens, at least not yet.
I was going to say, did she grant you a wish, or did you get your face scratched?
I've never made a wish, to be honest. I guess I just never believed it.
Okay.
I think it's a cool story, but yeah, I don't think I'd go through with it either. I just, it'd be nice to meet I would like to meet her familiar though, just to pet the cat.
It would be cool to meet, 100 and some year old witch's familiar walking around. That would be kind of cool.
Yeah, that'd be great.
I'm not familiar with familiar.
So, did you want to grab that one, Nicole?
You can tell it. I mean, it's pretty simple, but it's you're the guest, so please.
Okay. So basically,
She's trying to
Mark,
get you to talk, Nicole. That's what she's trying to do.
no, I know she
I've
knew
been
the
talking
answer.
this whole time.
So a witch's familiar could be described as her animal spirit. Her some people call it a servant. I don't like that word, but the animal that comes and goes for her, with her. Usually, familiars have their own magic as well. And they can be a cat, they can be a dog, they can be a rabbit, they can be a spider. There's lots of stories about how witches and familiars get together. Sometimes the familiar chooses the witch, and sometimes the witch chooses the familiar.
Trouble chose Nicole. I don't know if Trouble's your familiar.
He might be. He can't really deliver messages, but I remember once I had a dream where he approached the door and his soul went through the door even though he couldn't go through the door. So maybe he's out there traveling when I'm not noticing.
Maybe.
I've got a pretty good idea that he is. So Halloween now. Halloween, as we know it, from what you're saying, is something that really started in the 1950s, sort of. I thought it was
as
a longer
we know
tradition.
it, yeah, as we know it.
Right.
Like Samhain, way older, over 2,000 years old.
Right.
And the bonfire was a really big part of Samhain. I mean, for practical reasons, I don't know how many people have bonfires now. Lighting.
Well, are you supposed to have a bonfire? I didn't know.
Yes, or the hearth fire. Basically, it's a fire. It's a fire holiday and a fire festival. But I don't know that that's realistic for many people. I mean, maybe they could light a candle.
Right.
But
or turn on their electric fireplace.
Yeah, that's what I've got. It really doesn't have the same kind of energy, I have to admit.
Right.
A candle seems to be almost better. But yeah, it was a fire festival. I guess in Ireland it still is. I know that there was always lighting of candles for ancestors in Samhain, much like Dia de las Mortes. And there are other similar festivals like in Asia, like Hungry Ghost and things like that, where ancestors are honored on particular holidays with candles and food as well.
Hungry ghosts? The ghosts are hungry?
Wouldn't you be if you only got fed one day a year? I mean, I sure would be.
Yeah.
I would definitely be a very hungry ghost if I only got to eat one day a year.
I never thought about it like that. Yeah, I guess. Yeah. Well, I mean, it's a good diet plan, but still, it's. So they put out food for the dead. So there's other, and the Day of the Dead. I've been to quite a few parades and festivals with that, and everybody puts the makeup on. I'm sure you have some insight into that.
Not a ton. I mean. So my dog that died last year was born on Dia de las Mortes, and so I always say he's my Calavera dog. But I was like, if there's ever been a spirit familiar, it's got to be a dog that was born on the Day of the Dead, right? But
for you, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, when I saw his birth date on his paperwork, I was like, wow, that feels significant. But he actually, I mean, because I don't have Mexican heritage, I didn't ever adopt the holiday as my own. And I have a limited amount of knowledge about it, to be totally honest. I know that it honors ancestors. I know that there's a lot of celebration of family instead of sadness around the loss. And I think it sounds like a super cool holiday that part of me is like, I wouldn't mind appropriating it, but I have not. I don't, like I said, I don't have any Mexican. I have a lot of interesting heritage, but I don't have any Mexican heritage.
Really? I was curious about that. What is your heritage?
It's all over the place.
I'll bet.
So yeah, I do have some Scottish heritage on my mother's side and some French. On my father's side, I have Spanish and North African, and even a little bit of Roma and like Romani people. So I have an interesting mix.
I'd say so. So it's gonna be, and I didn't know about your dog, and I apologize. I'm sorry to hear that happened.
Yeah, we had a lot of fun together.
Oh no, I trust me. I'm sure you guys were great together, but because you're doing the Haunts and Hounds tour
Mhm.
this year, so that's going to be bittersweet.
Oh,
I'm sure.
I love having dogs on my ghost tours. It's a lot of
Right.
fun. Sometimes they're just chill and they walk along. Other times they all start barking at the same empty building at the same time. And it's the best ghost hunting team you could ever ask for. I love having a whole bunch of dogs on my ghost tours. There's nothing like it. Yeah, I mean, other people show up with, they're like, I have a ghost hunting app on my phone. I'm like, great. You know, like you're gonna slow the group down. But no,
One of
bring
my
bring an
deepest,
animal.
my most profound situations where I was approached by something that was not of this, now this plane. I don't know if it was a ghost or if it was a demon or a spirit or what, but I always remember that my dog saw it too. So I knew I wasn't asleep or something. Like I wasn't like imagining it. My dog just went off. Like, yeah,
Yep.
that was a really scary experience. And then I was like trying to calm the dog down and just like praying basically. And then eventually it left, but it was in the room for a long time.
Yeah, they
Dogs
always
are
know.
very, very in tune.
Dogs, cats, any animal you have. I recently did a house clearing, and the woman had a real weird entity. Without disclosing too many details, it was watching her like sleep and shower and stuff. It was a kind of a creeper entity, and her pets.
Was
She
that
had
Jack? Was that
no, no, it wasn't. But she had guinea pigs, and whenever the spirit was present, they knew it, and they were unhappy, and they were like full of anxiety, and she's like, that's why I kind of felt okay asking for your help. She's like, for them. And I was just like, okay, well, let's take care of this for you too. But yeah, it was a super interesting experience trying to get rid of that guy.
I'll bet.
Whatever
Now,
it was, it just wandered through. Like I never saw it again. It was a one-time experience, but I'll never
That's
forget.
excellent.
My dog was named Bubba, and he was a Rottweiler. So this is a big dog, very scared.
Yeah. Yeah, probably not just a garden variety ghost then.
No, it was. I could tell it was hostile. I remember a friend saying, "Well, how do you know it was evil?" Because they're into spirits and stuff. I said I could tell it wasn't there for good intentions. Like it scared me.
Hmm.
I don't know if it's evil, but it was not. It wasn't there to have fun.
Yeah, it wasn't there to
it
help
wasn't a
you.
friendly ghost. It
Yeah.
was a
No, it was not. It wasn't Casper.
no.
It wasn't a spirit showing up like, I'm gonna help you get ahead in your career. It was
Or
like,
help you with your
I'm
prosperity
actually,
stuff.
yeah, it was more like, I'm coming to like suck your energy out of your soul. Get this
It
dog
was
out of the
very
way.
scary. It's the most
Yeah.
intense encounter I've ever had with the other side.
Wow.
It really scared me about it for like a couple of years, just because I could do nothing. Like it existed, and I could do nothing.
Rissa, can you tell me the most intense encounter you've had on the other side, or an intense encounter? Or probably you're too scared to say what the most was.
No, I'm trying to think of a time when I was truly scared.
It's going to
Um,
take a lot, I know.
well, so I have this interesting background. I was taught not to be afraid when I was very little. I was taught not to be afraid of ghosts. I was taught not to be afraid of things that I couldn't explain and to simply accept. And I don't run across a lot of people who were given that, and it was an incredible gift actually,
Hmm.
for me going forward in life in general, because I can just kind of move through most things. So I don't have a lot of warm fuzzy feelings about shadow people. Um, they don't usually approach me. They did when I was a child, and I do remember it very well. So if you don't know, shadow people they're not souls like ghosts. They're something else. And there's a lot of theories out there floating around about what they are, and I can't answer it exactly. But picture a disembodied shadow that moves around on its own, but it's extremely dense, dark. It's not like a flitting shadow like going across your wall. It has a density to it. And the minute it's near you, it feels like it's literally sucking your soul out. But it wants you to agree. It wants you to agree to this arrangement. And they tend to be attracted to places where people have moments of weakness or are very ill, and they they're truly like what's the word I'm looking for? They'll truly take advantage of people in weak moments. And they
Mhm.
also love children for that reason, because children don't know the difference. And so as a kid, I remember my first encounter with a shadow person, and I kept asking, but why? Why would I agree? And it didn't occur to me, first of all, that it was bad, even though I felt kind of funny because I had
Mhm.
seen other ghosts.
Mhm.
And I knew it was different. Now, a lot of people describe shadow people with red eyes. I did not. I've never had that experience. Um, I've never, in fact, seen anything with red eyes that wasn't on a movie. But it had the density. It had the dark feeling. The I'm suddenly so tired and depleted feeling. And when I would never actually agree to letting it tag along with me, was what it was asking. It
Mhm.
finally just left and walked through the wall. And I knew it was something different, but it would be years until I understood what it was. And I understood that other people had experiences with entities like that. And I know a lot of mediums are just terrified of shadow people because they don't want to attract them.
Mhm.
And it's an interesting phenomenon. I mean, there are people that say they're aliens. There are people who say that they're demonic. There are people that say they're from some, parallel dimension. I don't have an answer to any of that.
Mhm.
But I also know there are places where they just congregate, hospitals, jails,
Mhm.
places like that. They tend to just linger there and look for lost souls that they can basically feed off of.
Mhm.
So that
I
was
think
probably
the
one of my
place I
scariest.
found the most entities. I mean, hospitals always have a very dark, heavy feeling. I really don't enjoy going to them because I'm too empathic. But the place I met the most entities was while I was in jail for that brief amount of time. Like that was like a place where there's a lot going on there. And I think it's also
Yeah.
because there's so many mentally ill people. Like I
Mhm.
had a realization. I was like, why do I attract so many mentally ill people? I'm like, it's not the people I'm attracting, it's their spirits, the things that
Mhm.
are with them. And because like I went to Olive Garden last night and this crazy guy
Well,
just
I'm
sits
sure
down.
there were some mentally ill people there.
This guy literally had like a tubing on his arm. He had probably just got out of the hospital.
Yeah.
And he sits down right next to me. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I can't even go to dinner without like this stuff happening to me.
I'm assuming he wasn't using tactical soap.
No, he was not. But he didn't smell either. Like he wasn't
Okay.
he probably had to be clean because he had just come from some sort of hospital. But I've
Right.
seen the other side where they're really the smell is
Right.
intense.
He just
I
he
remember just getting approached on the street by this guy going, "You're my cousin, you're my cousin." Just scary shit like that. And I
Yeah.
was like, I wasn't attracting the mentally ill people. I'm attracting the things that make them ill. But if you're spiritual, being in jail is very different than if you're just normal. Like I spent a lot of time
a lot of normal people in
meditating.
jail.
Well, you're right. There aren't a lot of normal people in jail. But if you're sensitive to spirits, it's a weird experience for sure.
Oh, I'm
Sure.
sure. Yeah, I would imagine. Yeah, it's tough. I mean, you're getting, I mean, just the sensory overload without the spirits, and then you get all the spirits, and who knows what's happened there? Somebody gets shanked in jail, and their spirit's still there.
Yeah. I was very lucky that I have such a strong guide. My guide basically stood up and said, "No one may come unless summoned by me," and that really helped because then he was like basically a boundary between me and the others that were just like bombarding me.
Yeah. You have a protector.
And
I
I
do.
don't.
I'm very
I'm
thankful.
still looking for a protector. I have no
Rissa,
protector.
will you explain to Mark how to get a guide? Because it is possible for a person to get a guide, especially if they're looking.
First of all, I don't believe that he doesn't have one already. He's just probably not connected to them.
Uh,
They're probably like tapping you on the shoulder right now, going, "Hey, hey,
mm.
hey."
Hello, huh? Yeah, I don't know. No,
So
nothing there.
my guess is that you do have a guide, and you might even have more than one. And the mine found me pretty easily, probably just like you, Nicole. But first thing you need to do, Mark, is like openly declare that you're open to them, that like you're willing to hear from them in dreams, or in any other way that they can communicate with you. You could
Mhm.
even pick a symbol. I mean, don't make it something easy like, when I see a pen, you're communicating. No, don't do that. Make it something a little more specific so that it's them. One of my guides communicates with me through a sign of a wolf, and there are no wolves in this part of the country, so it's not like I'm going to cross paths with one when I'm hiking. The wolves come to me in bizarre ways. One time I was in a bookstore and literally a book about wolves fell on my head, and I knew that she was there. So if you pick a symbol, that might be one way that you could start connecting with your guide.
Mhm.
And this is going to sound nutty, but just talk to them out loud
Okay.
and say, I really want to hear from you. I want to be able to connect with you. And can you start leading me towards the way that can happen?
Mhm.
Now, if you get online, there are a million meditations about how to connect with your guide and stuff like that. And, I know that has worked for some people. You can also like literally just go to a medium and ask them your guide's name, and they'll be able to tell you. So that's a shortcut if you want to take that.
But make sure it's a medium you trust.
Yeah, say absolutely.
Because we had a medium on a couple weeks ago, and I said I asked her how I could find a spirit guide, and she gave me an Akashic reading, and it was interesting, but I don't know if it's going to help me find my spirit guide.
Yeah, that's a kind of totally different thing.
Yeah, so it's a whole different thing. But speaking of wolves, now I'm seeing here there's a whole full moon dinner and beverages thing that you're going to be doing now. Now, Rissa, for some reason, every time there's a full moon, and I guess October 28th is the next full moon or
Yep.
around there, I'm suddenly attracted. I'm never more attracted than when there's a full moon. Every time
Are you
I'm
actually
out,
a werewolf?
that's what I'm asking. I don't know, maybe. I don't know, but every time I'm out, women are suddenly attracted to me one day a month when it's a full moon.
Well, the moon does affect the water in everybody's literal body. So, there's a different pool on all of us on full moon days.
Mhm.
And there's both folklore and science to the full moon. It's pretty cool, actually, this year that it's so close to Halloween. I love
Right.
that. That it's so close to, the thinnest day of the year. So for those of us that do divination, that's like, ooh. But it's a lovely counterpoint. But as far as why, well, first of all, like I said, everybody's a little different on those days because the water in your body is being affected by the pull of the moon, just like the tides. And plants, everything are different that day. And I think aside from that, the moon does have her own magic, Mark. Absolutely. And if you're already tuned into that in this way, maybe you should work with it more.
How do I do that? And by the way, I didn't know the moon was binary, but how do I do that?
How do you do that?
Yes.
Okay, there's a million answers to that question. So as far as what I would suggest for you,
Mhm.
on the day of a full moon, like you're like, today's the day I'm going out prowling for ladies, and I know the moon is with me, and
I'm not prowling for ladies. I just noticed that I'm suddenly more attracted to ladies. So I don't know what you think I'm prowling for ladies?
Oh, maybe. I mean, you could be.
Okay, all right.
I'm getting into this werewolf thing right now in my mind.
Right.
Right.
I'm I got the prowling. Okay, so I'm
Okay.
prowling for ladies. Okay, well, let's go with it. This is funny. So I'm prowling for ladies on the full moon. So October 28th, I'm gonna be I got a show, but I'm gonna be prowling for ladies after the show. So
there you go. You could even do it in advance of the show too if you want.
okay.
But because the full moon energy is usually good for a day before and a day after as well.
Okay.
You don't need it just on that night. So you can, work your magic for, a good 3-day range, So, what I would do is the reason I went with the werewolf is because it's such a fabulous full moon icon. And I also love werewolves. But picture yourself as like in that energy, in that power. Like what says werewolf to you that you could embrace the magic of that transformation that you go through on the full moon?
And don't forget, Rissa, he's also Scorpio.
Oh, so
No,
that's
we're
actually
going to get to
perfect.
that. Yeah, we're going to get to that too. But I guess the hair. I don't know.
Scorpios foul for sure.
Yeah, I would have to agree with you, Nicole.
Is it the hair, the teeth, the animal pow? I don't know.
Yeah, animal power is kind of where I'm going. Yeah.
Okay, all right.
I
The
mean,
protruding nose. I don't know.
You could go with hair, teeth. You know, the werewolf legend isn't just about the power of the werewolf. There are so many facets to the werewolf legend, right? It becomes a warrior. It becomes a defender. It becomes literally the shape-shifting power to change from regular into something more.
Right. So I will embrace my back hair and really go to town. No, but,
There you
but
go.
no, let me ask, because I'm sure everybody knows this, but I don't. How did the full moon and the werewolf? How did they get connected?
Oh, hang on, let me think. I have to dig around the recesses of my brain. It's a piece of literature, I'm sure of it.
Okay. And it's not Stephen King's Silver Bullet. It goes a little earlier.
No, it's older than that. He piggybacked on somebody else, and I can picture the cover in my mind, but I can't pull it out of my brain. You caught me off guard on that one.
All right, oh, that's
so
okay.
The werewolf legend is like 3,000 years old, and it's not just werewolves. There are werecats as well.
Yeah.
And the werepanthers are really cool, right? But the moon part didn't come in till I think it was around the 1600s, and it was a British or French piece of writing.
Mm-hmm. So it wasn't always that it was the full moon. It just somebody added that on.
No, the original magic of the werewolf either had to be inherited, like you got it in your bloodline. A werewolf would bite you. You would drink from the footprint of a werewolf, or there was a magic piece of it. So either a belt or a pelt or some other piece of magic. The full moon thing came in much later, but it is a lovely image with the werewolf and the moon, because real wolves do change their behavior when the full moon happens.
Well, a lot of people do, apparently.
Yes, they do. Did you know?
I'm going to say it wrong, but there's the original myth where lycanthropy came from. I think his name is his name is Lycan something.
It's
I can't remember right.
Just Lycan. Yeah.
Just Lycan? Okay, yeah. And Lycan fed Zeus was coming to his house for dinner.
Yep.
And he was so nervous about the god of gods coming to his house for dinner that he killed his own son to prepare as dinner for the gods. And when the gods ate it, they were very upset with him and they cursed him and turned him into a wolf. And he's allegedly the first werewolf. But there's also lycanthropy. It's also in Native American tribes. It's in a lot of different cultures. Mm-hmm. But where we get the word lycanthropy from is from Lycan and his desire to please the gods by offering his own son as sacrifice.
That's it. You got it.
You should start doing tours with Rissa, Nicole. That's pretty good. I can see you guys like. So
yeah, we're gonna hook up and do like a spooky history podcast.
See, everybody tries to cut me out. I was just about to howl too. Oh, I was trying to do that. So, now, so this is the weird thing. So this is why part of the reason that Halloween is so great is that my birthday is November 4th, so it's right afterwards. Now, is there any significance to
that? Is it Guy Fawkes Day?
That's November 5th.
Oh, okay.
If I recall,
I know it's right around then.
Right. Yeah. But I mean, being that I was born so close to Halloween, and apparently, full moon's right around the corner. I mean, it's now does full moon always coincide with Halloween pretty close, or?
No, it changes every year. There are 13 full moon cycles in a year, and they bump around all the time. It's never exactly the same. So no, I wish I could say that was always a full moon on Halloween. It's actually pretty rare.
Right. So basically, my affinity and my attraction to dark and creepy things has to do with
just because you're a Scorpio. Yeah.
Is that what it is?
Yeah,
I don't know.
It is because you're a Scorpio.
I don't know that
Nicole
that's true, but that's what I'm going with.
So, Mark, I don't know if people talk to you enough about being what a Scorpio is, but there are dark depths to Scorpios always.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. All right. Well, and you know me better than anybody.
Too.
Well,
Like Parrish is a Scorpio too, and he's a little bit more flamboyant than your average Scorpio, but on the inside, he has that same attraction to darker, deeper things.
Right. And Parrish is a Los Angeles friend of ours that puts on love and lust Halloween parties, and he has quite a different life than I'm leading. I'll be honest with you. So he's quite the club impresario, and I'm, usually alone crying in my room. So that would be a different life. But
that sounds like Scorpio to me too, though.
Okay, well there
it
you
is.
go. There you go.
I
mean, I'm a Pisces, I'm a water sign, so I get that.
Yeah, I mean, I know that Mark's a little skeptical about astrology, but I'm really into it. So,
well, the reason I'm skeptical, and I've told you this, and I've said this on the show a million times, because we did have her as a guest, and I thought she's fantastic. She's wonderful. But Bangs the Clown, I met earlier this year, and we talked for a while, and she said, "What sign are you?" I said, "Guess my sign," which I say that to everybody. And she guessed 8 signs wrong. And then I told her, you give up finally? And she said, yes. I said, I'm a Scorpio. She's like, oh, that makes sense.
If I didn't know you, I think you were a Gemini, but I do know you, so I know you're a Scorpio.
Okay. Well, there you go.
Because you definitely have, like, the person you are without the humor is very different than the person you are on the surface.
Okay.
Well, that's also,
as I said, darker.
Yeah, that's the Scorpio personality.
Isn't everybody though? Everybody has a facade.
Everybody is
not everybody
side,
has
not like a Scorpio. No.
Okay.
Yeah.
And speaking of that, then that's a perfect segue because, everybody likes to dress up these days, not just for Halloween, but all time. So, Rissa, what was the
origin of the costume? People started originally dressing up. There are 2 origin stories. Let's do one at a time. Mm-hmm. So people originally started dressing up for the idea that when the bad spirits came back on Samhain, they didn't want them to recognize them. So it was easy to just put on a costume to pretend to be somebody else so that only your family would be able to recognize you. The other origin story of the costume is mumming. Now, mumming is now more associated with Yule. But it did come at earlier times in the year as well. Whenever it was dark was a good time for mumming. People would dress up and put on little skits and plays, and basically it was a way to go door to door and ask for food and wine. Mm-hmm. And mumming is still a thing that's done, and actually it's kind of hitting a revival. Mumming is also sort of associated with the wassail that we probably talked about last year, where they they walked around with the skeleton horse, Marilud, and sang, and Marilud would challenge you to a battle of rhymes. But same idea. All of these are the beginnings of dressing up. Now, the kids dressing up and trick-or-treating was sort of a response to children in America that were mimicking the mischievous spirits of the Halloween time. Mischief Night was a real thing outside of the movie The Crow. Mm-hmm. And everybody thinks of The Crow now when you say Devil's Night or Mischief Night, but it was a real thing, historically speaking, when kids, teenage boys probably mostly, would play pranks, and sometimes they got too rowdy, and they decided instead, like, what if we have these children dress up and we sort of have managed fun? And the kids totally went for it, and it just stuck as a tradition instead of Mischief Night.
So trick-or-treating was basically so the children wouldn't riot.
Something like that, yeah. Yeah. Not all children were engaging in Mischief Night, but I think now it's a pretty common thing for most kids to engage in trick-or-treat. I know there was that 1984, there was the guy with the razor blades. Wasn't that out you all's way?
No, wasn't that a myth?
No, there was one man who... I can't remember his name right now. It's right in front of my brain. He was the trick-or-treat killer. He did put, was it razor blades or poison in candy? And he was actually executed in 1984, public execution.
As he should be.
Yeah, but only one time. Otherwise, everything else that's after that has been just a panic reaction to that one guy. When I was a little kid, I remember getting like homemade treats from people, and it was totally normal. And now that's not a thing anymore. It's kind of sad.
Well, trick-or-treating, a lot of people don't even take the kids trick-or-treating, or they do like
Trunk or treat,
like
like at the mall
yeah,
or
oh, that's
something.
the
Yeah.
worst. Oh, I hate that. Oh,
Yeah.
the trunk or treat. There might, yeah, like at churches they do trunk or treats,
Hmm.
which sounds even worse. Like you're gonna shove a kid in a trunk.
No, I don't think that's what it's supposed to be.
I know that's not what it's supposed to be, but that's what it sounds like to me.
I'd just like to
What's
take
wrong?
this opportunity to say that having Halloween in an apartment is so much different. There are no trick or treaters.
Never.
Never. I've been in a house.
Well,
I've been in an apartment since 2010. I haven't seen trick or treaters in apartments.
Oh.
I think why that is though. I don't think it has anything to do with the apartments. I don't think people are doing it anymore. They like I say, or they're doing it at at a concentrated area. They'll have like I say, a church, or they'll have a school or a mall or something, and just have the kids go there, which is just
Yeah.
a contained area rather than walking around the streets, which sucks
I
because
remember buying candy and eating it all myself, and that wasn't intentional. I genuinely bought it waiting for trick or treaters, and they never came.
yeah, don't
I'm
yeah.
sorry. It is fun. I will find a neighborhood where a friend lives that I know has trick or treaters because I love watching it.
Yeah.
It's so much fun. I mean, it's like how long can Ninja Turtles still be a thing? But
Forever.
yeah, I guess so. Good on them. I hope they're rolling around in a room full of money, whoever came up with that idea.
They
But
are.
Kevin Eastman, he's a friend of mine. He does okay.
excellent. So yeah,
He does okay.
I love going out to see where the trick or treaters are because it's so much fun. And I remember walking in the dark and like the whole experience of walking through a neighborhood and like you might not have this in California, but like the leaves crunching under your feet and the smell of fall. I loved it. And when I have lived places where there were no trick or treaters, like college neighborhoods, for example, there were no trick or treaters. There were just like drunk college kids out, but not the same at all. And I remember thinking like,
and some of them will trick or
way.
treat too.
Yeah. But yeah, I've always found a way to experience trick or treat as many years as possible.
Right.
I understand why people would go to a mall or a trunk or treat if, for example, they live in an apartment like Nicole where their kids don't trick or treat.
Mm-hmm.
So
there are no children in my current building. My building has no children, which is kind of nice. I did see some kids the one time. I still worked I worked briefly for John Carpenter and his wife about 6 months, and Halloween was during that 6 months. And when we were at the actual Halloween house, the one that's used in the movie, which they turned into an office,
that's
kids
amazing.
came to that. That was pretty cool. I was dressed as like the evil queen from Snow White, so I was very. I got to hand out some candy that time, but that's the last time I saw trick or treaters. And there was only like 3 of them. There really wasn't that many.
So years ago, I was when I was married, we had a house in the suburbs. We would literally get like 100 trick or treaters. It was a lot of fun.
That's amazing.
No, Rissa's house was the creepy house in the block, right?
Absolutely,
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Ooh, the weird ladies there.
Yeah,
and
got the photography studio, lights out. It had sound effects, the whole thing.
Do
you get trick or treaters, Mark?
Well, like I said, my building is it's all adults. I don't have kids in my building. Once in a while, not too many. I'm trying to think. I'm usually out when there's trick or treating. So if there
do you
are,
give out the energy drinks to the kids?
Yes, I give out. Yes, here have some Ray's energy drinks. So yeah, I have I grab some Smarties or some vegan snacks if they come by, which was good. Now I was gonna say and I know this isn't vegan, but the funniest thing about trick or treating when I was a kid, I remember. Well, first off, everybody would give you an apple and crush all the candy, so that would happen. Also, they had those Hershey's little miniatures, and everybody wanted the crackle, but you always got the dark chocolate or something you didn't want. That I remember.
I have to confess, I remember my parents eating my peanut butter cups. Yeah.
Oh no! Oh no! But I was going to say, what was your best costume as a child, Rissa, and what was your best costume as an adult?
Oh, I had 2 really good adult costumes. One year I was Trinity from The Matrix.
Oh, geez! Now
That was a good
The
one.
wheels are turning in my head. My goodness.
Yeah, that was a good one. And then who was the woman that Dracula was fascinated with? Why can't I think of her name?
Mina Harker?
Mina.
Yes, I had a Mina Harker costume. Now, ironically, the makeup artist who did my hair and makeup put teeth in and that I couldn't remove. They were going to be there for a couple of days. And I was profusely drooling for about 4 hours until I got used to it. And I was sitting in the bathroom, but I was like, I can't go anywhere. Like, I can't stop drooling. These vampire fangs are the worst. And I'm like trying to pry them out of my mouth. They didn't come out. I had to adapt. I had to learn how not to drool with vampire fangs in my semi-permanently stuck in my mouth. I did finally sort it out and was able to go out and about. But those were my best 2 adult costumes. And I'm trying to think of my best kid costumes. It's been a real long time. And my mom used to sew a lot of my costumes.
Oh, that's nice.
I know one year she made me like a Victorian outfit, and that was amazing. I still have it in storage because
Okay.
it was so pretty. And she like sewed this long dress with all the ruffles and everything. And part of me is like, why can't I still fit into this? But
Because you're
I
not
think that was
12?
exactly. Yeah. Well, I was younger than 12 when she made me that. I was like 7 or 8.
Okay, yeah. So yeah, you can't fit in your 7-year-old dress.
No, it's unfortunate because it's really, really beautiful. But and I did not get the sewing skills gene. Everybody on both sides, all the women on both sides of my family were seamstresses and could sew, and I am really, really bad at it. So I somehow that skipped me. But it's okay, and I do still have that. Those are probably my favorite costumes. Those 3.
Okay. And are you like my mother in that when people wear costumes that aren't scary, you get upset? Because the top costumes this year, besides the Ninja Turtles, are inevitably going to be Barbie and Ken.
Oh, I thought you were
So
going to say Taylor Swift.
her too. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. No, I don't care. As long as they're happy, that's what it's all about.
Okay, yeah. Because my mother will sit there and watch the trick or treaters like these aren't scary costumes. This is just all like silly dress up.
No, I think it's fine. And, it's all about, I would say for the kids trick or treating today, they're not so worried about spirits recognizing them, right? They're not trying to like run from the evil entities. So I think it's more about, having a moment to embrace, the alter ego that you wish you could have. And
Right.
if that's Barbie or Taylor Swift or a Ninja Turtle, so be it.
Okay. Well, that's a great way to end, and we could talk forever. And as about all sorts of things. This got a little more random than I thought, and for some reason, with my lighting, I do look like a spirit. I don't know what's going on.
You do
here.
actually. I thought you
I have a ghostly glow because I don't have because the sun went down, and I didn't have my lights on, so I'm only being lit by the webcam, and I have the the Zoom background. Yeah, so
Yeah.
I look like an apparition here. I look like but
I literally thought you were doing that on purpose.
well, no, this is a happy accident. But Rissa, you got like I say, it's all of our busy seasons. But I see you got so much stuff going on, including, my goodness, you make your own incense, history of superstitions, all sorts of develop your intuition, the haunts and hounds, yoga flow, all sorts of pub crawl, all sorts of things. The Women of the Wild conference. I guess I missed that one.
That's over, but that was fantastic. Yeah.
Right.
That was one of a few women's retreats I did this year, and they were a lot of fun. They were a lot of fun.
So, and you're also giving readings, and I don't know where you get the time, but tell everybody everything you got going on.
I thought you were going to go back to I'm a vampire again, but
well, I think I still have my suspicions.
Well, the only reason it doesn't work out is the drooling with the fangs. Yeah.
Well, we can hook you up with Father Sebastian, but who was on last week. But I will tell you that your incisors are a bit vampiric. I noticed.
Well, thank you. I'll go with that.
It's a compliment. Trust me, it's quite the compliment. You never been told that? Am I the first one to tell you that?
No, actually, a lot of people who know me well, I always say, which monster would I be? And they can never come up with an answer. They always come back to like, you're the one that, all the monsters love. Like, you're the one that gets them. And I guess I'm like, my mom actually said that I was like the character in it's not the Harry Potter movies, it's the other one. The creature movies that was like set in the 1920s, that it was like before Harry Potter. The main character knew, they say about him, you never met a monster you couldn't love. And my mom's like, that's you. You've never met a monster you couldn't love.
Wow.
And it's actually a pretty good way to characterize me.
There you go. Well, I know we monsters, and apparently I'm a werewolf, and Nicole, who knows what she is, but we love
I'm a
you.
witch.
Yeah, so I think
You're
she's
a witch.
Yeah.
You're a witch. I'm a werewolf, and but we love you. And tell everybody what you got going on and how people get a hold of you.
Sure. So my website is teaandsmoke.com, and you can find me there for tea leaf readings, smoke readings, and I'm now offering crystal claromancy readings, which is a kind of casting. So like casting lots, like casting stones. And I have been working on it for a little while. It's my own system, and it's really beautiful because the crystals are always so lovely. And I'm also a third generation tarot reader. And all of those services are available at teaandsmoke.com, as well as my schedule of upcoming events. Some of them are available online on Zoom.
That intrigues me. I know Nicole works with stones and crystals, and I just have never gotten into it. I don't know how to. I wouldn't know how to start.
If I were you and you're a Scorpio, I would just get a smoky quartz and like carry it around with you.
Okay, I'll go ahead and do that. And Nicole,
Current energy.
what's that?
I said it'll amplify your current energy. It helps you hone your will.
Okay, I'll get right on that. And Nicole, crystal's been working out for you. I mean, your prosperity is you're rolling with dough.
While we were sitting here, I got invited to like more shifts. I have too much right now. I have to hold back and not take everything. So
well, that's
important too, though. Knowing when to say no.
That's Rissa's energy transferring to you, I think.
Yeah, I'm just sitting here and I'm seeing, because I use my phone instead of my laptop, and I just see the text coming in offering me work, and I'm like, there have been 3 while we were talking.
That's great. That's great. But yeah, it is important to be able to say no when you have a limit.
Well, I got offered some work earlier today, so I took that. I don't want any more work this month. I'm good. I have a lot of stuff to do. It's an important season.
It is an important season. I totally agree.
And how can people get a hold of you, Nicole? Not to get work, but just to see what the...
If you have work, I'll listen. It doesn't mean I'll be able to take it, but I'll at least hear you out. I'm at Nicole6Books on Instagram, and I'm Nicole H6 on Facebook.
Right. And are you back giving readings or no?
I mean, if you want a tarot reading, I'll do it because of the month. I guess, yeah, for the rest of the year, I'll do tarot readings. That sounds like I should get back into it. I had a little problem with it because somebody died and my tarot reading didn't predict it, and it kind of shook me a little. But as a person who I don't necessarily trust their psychic abilities, but they're what they said was that I didn't ask if someone was going to die, and they're not wrong. The question I asked got answered. I just feel like it could have gone a little bit bigger and told this person that someone they loved was going to die. So I'm willing to keep trying. I believe in the power of tarot for sure. I do.
Okay. And apparently I'm becoming more and more of an apparition. I keep
you are
here. Yes, it's very nice.
You definitely need that smoky quartz. Your energy's just fading away there, Mark.
Yeah, I need to smoke some smoky quartz. And I am Goth Comedian on all social media. This has been a blast. Rissa, we love having you, and thank you for sharing all the history of Halloween with us.
My pleasure.
And
look
everybody.
Out for Stingy Jack.
Stingy Jack. I got to look out for Stingy Jack. And like I say, I know a couple Stingy Jacks in my day. So we'll see how it goes. So I'm going to carve a turnip now. Watch out for Stingy Jack. Get some quartz and get into my werewolf energy. And everybody have a wonderfully creepy Halloween. Bye.
Bye.